on the board.
All right, good. Yeah, so let's see if this camera behaves itself. Yeah, so far so good. I replaced it, changed it out. So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's start in the usual with any kind of questions that may have cropped up over the week. Got anything?
Hang on, hold up. When's he go?
Yeah, yeah.
Enzi, you
Or
have
have I-
questions?
Or have I just put him on the spot?
Yeah, I've been trying to understand this the symbol that we saw last week, the star symbol, and how to
The five pointed star.
yeah,
Right.
and how to like I don't know how to say it in English, but to work with it and to find its use in real life
Sure.
processes. So because what we talked is that we have there the different centers or the different energies of each center.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's hard for me to go from that to a process in life, like how to find the relationship, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So, have you done the work of identifying, when things come up in you, which center they belong to, especially we haven't spent a lot of time on the instinctive or the sexual centers, right? The instinctive center is almost completely fine in nearly everyone, unless they've blown it out with like drugs or something like that. Generally speaking, the instinctive center is usually the one that's most intact in people. I think it might be useful to start off by saying kind of what each center primarily does. So the thinking center not only thinks, but it thinks by way of compare and contrasting. When it's running on the type of fuel that it's supposed to be running on, which would be like a white kind of fuel. And you can take a hint from the color too, but then it's not biased, right? It doesn't actually judge things. It compares and contrasts and correlates things. So it assesses things. This is the right way to use the mind. You never get into with the thinking center. You should never get into things like and dislike. That's more of an emotional thing. It is just a registration department. Okay. And it should also be constantly on the lookout for collecting what's called stock, collecting new bits of information that it might be able to add up later. All right. The moving center, running on red, is responsible for movement, right? Anything that is movement oriented or habitual, which is another kind of movement inside the system, something that becomes a habit, belongs to the moving center as well. Okay, so what does the moving center wish to do? It wants to move. It wants to express itself. This is why when you want to learn about something, it's often, very helpful to pick it up and do things with it. All right, to actually hold it in your hands, look at it, get its weight, get its feeling, all of these sorts of things. You understand? So the moving center just loves to move this thinking center from place to place so that it can be exposed to new things. The instinctive center, running on blue, has to do with the regulation of the system. So when you are hungry, it's what motivates you to go eat. When you're thirsty, it motivates you to drink. When you're cold, it causes the shivering in the body and drives you to seek a warmer place. It also, when you walk into a room, if you're very in tune and sensitive to the instinctive center, it will look out for dangers. Okay, it already knows where like the sharp corners are in the room. It knows, anything you might stumble or trip over. Okay. The emotional center is probably the most misused aspect of people. It's meant to connect. It's meant to be able to connect to something and create a tuning fork, a resonance with it. Do you know that? Do you know the idea of the tuning fork? Right, where I've talked
Yeah.
about before, holding two tuning forks tuned to the
Mm.
same thing. Yeah, but that's its primary function, is to to cause an energetic connection. That's why it's got emotion, motion being the operative word in there. The sexual center is for mixing and marrying things for new results. That's why they say sometimes it's propositional, because it's propositional from a standpoint of it can take something connected to from the emotional center, right, a signal connected to by the emotional center, and a bit of data connected to or processed, I should say, by the thinking center, put them together and make something new out of it, something that wasn't already in the universe of self, or maybe even in the larger universe of the cosmos. Okay. At the lower end of the bar, of course, it takes man and woman, drives them together, and produces children, something that wasn't there before. Yeah, a child, that soul, spirit, body combination. When you're relating it to the elements, the thinking center relates to the element of air, okay, which gives you an idea of how light and how, air is transparent. Air doesn't bias what comes in. It just accurately transmits what something looks like to you. So there's a clue in that. Fire to the moving center. And so this gives you an idea of balance in the moving center means that you actually have somewhat of an active life. Yeah, the term couch potato, right? Someone who sits there on the couch all day long and doesn't do anything. It's they're probably lacking in vigor in their moving center. Water to the instinctive center, and again, this has to do with this idea of regulation and cooling. It can be very cooling to the system. That's a blue movement, by the way, what I'm doing here. Okay, if you find that you're running too hot, you do it down near the waist, but if you find that you're running too hot, you can do this sort of movement in your aura and produce this blue energy. Earth to the emotions, yellow, okay, but earth being the element there, meaning that it's stable, it's solid, it's not constantly changing and shifting. An earthquake or a volcano would be an example of that sort of outburst that usually causes destruction. But generally, the idea of earth is to have that sort of smooth, stable, solid aspect to it. Okay. And then wood or ether or void or any number of other things belonging to the sexual center. All of those things have to do with the area or the realm of manifestation. They use wood as the example of a tree because it not only has a line, right? It grows this way, but it also spirals outward. So it's got that sort of yin and yang element to it. Now, if you follow the creative cycle, you got the idea of fire creates earth, earth creates metal or air. So they're interchangeable, and we talked about that. And it goes around the circle this way. Okay, and you can reference the diagram from last week, but it goes around the circle this way. That's called the creative cycle. The destructive cycle follows the pentagram around. So fire, for example, what is it? Let's see. Yeah, wood creates fire, fire destroys air, right? We kind of went through there. And so you can look at these sorts of things in your own life. And if you feel like you lack vigor, for example, perhaps you can then go to that symbol and say, this is what I need to increase, or this is what I need to decrease. There's also a lot of traffic you can have with going the opposite way around the pentagram or the opposite way around the circle. So that's a very general kind of way into it. Parts of the body are associated with those sorts of things. Your metabolism, for example, would be a fiery process. Breathing would be an airy process. Your bladder and fluids and limbic systems and all this other type of stuff in the complex having to do with water. Yeah, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Bones would be the structure, having to do with the earth aspect. I think I brought up the idea of, martial arts, for example. You can take someone who's fighting like fire and defeat them with water, right? Always yielding. What ends up happening? Let me give you, this is a very good example, okay? So someone who's like, constantly charging you and fighting like fire, right? At you, in a martial arts context. If you're yielding every time they, try to make contact with you, you yield to it. What happens? Eventually, they're going to get tired out. And then what they do is they go to earth. You see the next one in the line. They need that stability. They need to catch their breath, right? They need to not move so much. And then you fight like wood having to do with uprooting their stance. Yeah. Circling in behind, right? Behind their legs. They tend to form a more solid stance after they've worn out of their fire element. Then you switch to wood and you try and break up their ability to stand there, you see. And then they transition along and you just keep following them around. So example, yeah, it's an example of how you can begin to apply these sorts of things.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bruce. It was a great summary and
Good.
great examples. I think it clarified a lot of things for me. Thanks.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's part of the structure of the universe in which we live and operate.
Does the sexual center have a color?
Green.
Green.
Yeah, green. Yeah, we need to get into all this, don't we? There's even frequencies that go with it. Okay, even you can actually determine. Oddly enough, the frequencies that go with each of the colors can be found in the first 5 books, the Pentateuch, right? First 5 books of the Bible, as the number of chapters. It begins with Genesis. Mark, do you know how many chapters are in Genesis?
Not off the top of
Okay.
my head.
You can look it up afterwards, right? But Genesis to do with green, Exodus to do with yellow, Leviticus blue, Numbers red, obviously, right? Numbers, and Deuteronomy white. Yeah, those are the frequencies that those were written against. If you set a metronome to however many chapters are like in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, or Deuteronomy, then that can help you get on the frequency of that. So, and walk around the house at a Genesis speed. Read Genesis at a Genesis speed, and it'll unlock it for you a bit more. Fascinating, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So if you ever forget what the frequency of white is, you can just go look it up. Deuteronomy, right? How many chapters? Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. I'm glad that helped. What other questions from last week?
Just before you come into that, when you're saying to read at a green speed, a blue speed, through the number of chapters, is that to read the amount of syllables per minute or
Play around
words?
with it.
Okay.
Play around with it. If you could actually do it in Hebrew, then you can get on the frequency of it better. But then, of course, you have to go learn Hebrew to do that. You can still do it. The problem with translations is they're translations, right?
Yeah.
So the syllables or the words, but you kind of keep a rhythm in yourself as you read it. All right, that'll help put you on the frequency. Setting a metronome. If you don't have a metronome, go get one. You know what a metronome is, right? Like the classic ones have several. I don't know how many balls there are. Probably doesn't matter. It could be 2, but in any event, they have probably 7 steel balls suspended from wires, and you pull one up and you let it go, and it kind of goes, clack, 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 and does that. Keeps a certain frequency, certain time for you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get electronic ones too. That's fine. It's not going to ruin your aura or anything.
Yeah.
Probably can find one on the internet where you can set it to whatever frequency you desire. But however many chapters are in each of those first 5 books is the beats per minute of the frequency that it was written against.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would recommend is that rather than getting a traditional English translation, to go to one of the Jewish websites and get the translation off of that, because that'll be closer.
You can also get something like this, right? Oh, it's going to lose me.
That's
But
it.
it's
Right there. Yeah.
interlinear. It's interlinear. Okay. So what it has is I don't know if you can see this, but it's got, the English words as well as in this case, probably, let's see, bold eyes, yeah, as well as the Hebrew ones alongside it.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm speaking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So you can get a hardbound if you don't want to read on the internet about it. And then another thing, if you really want to get into it, I would recommend is this Strong's Concordance. And what that is next to each word, right, both Hebrew and Greek in the scriptures, there's a number, and then you can cross-reference the number and see all the other places that it was that it was used, and what its roots are and what its meanings are, and so on and so forth. So it's a very good kind of research. Now that we're on the topic of white, this is white stock.
Yeah. Because the text can be downloaded as PDF.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money or anything.
No, it's free. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, right. I think as memory serves me, it's actually Bible.com or Bible Hub or Bible, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, there is.
You're fine.
But the ones that I found are best are from the Jewish sites.
Ah, great.
Such as Chabad and sites like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic, every Hebrew as well as every Greek letter has a numerical value assigned with it as well, right? And so you can then find the root number or the numerical value for one particular word and see what other words also have that value, and it begins to kind of unlock things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay,
You do yours.
okay. With the elements, what I found on YouTube was that there were qigong exercises for the different elements.
They're
Like
qigong exercises?
Not exercise, it's a qigong movements for
Yeah,
the different
like
elements.
qigong, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about? Yeah. Okay.
Qigong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we watched one with showing fire, air, water, and it was just really beautiful movements.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I've got from it was that to balance yourself, and if you're missing something, if you do those exercises, or if say you're missing water, if you do the water exercise, would you get more of that water in you?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Generating it. Sure. But it also has to do with what you're doing inside your faculties as well. Yeah. Two people can do something, right? A master of martial arts can hold a particular posture, and it has a certain energy that someone else could just walk up and just do, and it doesn't hold anything. It's what you carry in you as you do it. Stop a person dead in their tracks if you do it right. Won't dare attack. Okay. Yeah. Good. Sure. See, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. The way is not owned. Okay. The way finds conduits. That's how it's always worked. All right. So you can look in ancient Taoism, and like works like the I Ching and the whatever, the all of the Taoist classics. Yeah. And you can see how the way itself found a conduit and then took on the flavor of the person who wrote it. Yeah, in the case of Confucius or Confucius, as we say, may have taken on the flavor of the person who wrote it, because that's how essences work, right? They sort of marry with you and produce a signal that's like you and it together. Yeah, but you can look at that. You can look at you can look at ancient Taoism. You can look at Hinduism, Buddhism. You can look at Jainism, Christianity, Islam. All of it has certain connections in it, but it's the signal itself is the same. So once you get a tuning fork for what the way is, which in our meeting tomorrow we're going to begin to approach what the way really is, then you look at anything and you go, I recognize that. Yeah, I might express it a little bit differently. Right? You might express it. I mean, listen, one of these days you might be doing this out in front of a group of people, and I wouldn't want you, Hannah, to be like me. Yeah? Go do it. Go do it the way that it moves you to do it. That's the whole point. Yeah. Right? We talked about this before, didn't we? People becoming imprinted by the essence of whoever they considered their teacher. Yeah, that's probably happens in the first stage, but eventually you let go of that imprint and you just establish a connection with the way itself, and then do the work. Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad you looked that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Time isn't right for that one.
Okay.
Time is wrong for one of them.
Yeah, because I haven't quite got it right and formed up in me to be able to put the context and all that. So some other week for that one. Yeah. You've been shopping.
Yeah, we went shopping. We got a prism that came Friday afternoon. No, Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same one upstairs.
Was it? It's really beautiful. And we've got a magnifying glass. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it threw it down with rain last night.
Understatement.
So it was a full moon, but we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And then about, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, Mark goes, "Oh, we can see the moon. I can see the moon." So he woke me up.
We were both half asleep.
So he held it up to the window and we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And I told him to go and get the magnifying glass, but I couldn't figure out what to do with it because Mark says, "What do you do with the magnifying glass?"
Let it broadcast on a piece of paper, on a white piece of paper.
Right.
So hold it up to the moon, like however it is, just like like this. Hold it that way, and have a piece of paper parallel to it, and see the color bands that it does or does not transmit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we saw the spectrum of sunlight.
Oh yeah, sure.
But in a half dozed, half sleep state, at whatever time it was, we couldn't work out how to do that with the moonlight in a dark room, and so you just said, "No, I'll go back to sleep."
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean there's a lot in last week's meeting, and we're still working into it.
Good. All right. Great. Well, those are great observations, and it's just good to kind of stay with it, right? Just keep processing it. As I said at the beginning, you'll have some homework having to do with this, and well, how else to say it? I'll blow your mind. Not me. I'll blow your mind with something that a Sephirim helped me to discover just this morning when I was winding in for this for this meeting today. Yeah, something was relayed to me that I wish to relay to you. That's going to knock your socks off. Absolutely knock your socks off.
Have you done a photograph of the two boards before you rub them out?
Not yet. I haven't. Should I take one now? I'll
Yeah,
make sure. I'll make sure not to write over them. Okay, because
Okay.
you're gonna
Yeah.
want this. You're gonna want this circle filled in. Trust me.
Okay.
You'll want that circle filled in. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So.
Before we start,
let's-
can I
Huh?
ask you?
Yeah.
You said that you were given this morning. Is it the right time to inquire into that, or is it we'll come to that some other time?
Well, what do you want to know? Something that I perceive to be of a Sephirim nature.
Yeah.
Landed on me and dumped some knowledge in. Made me run to the board and demonstrate it. And it's not much else to say than that.
Okay.
I mean, what else do you want to know, right? If you put out the signal,
Yeah.
things will show up. Things will
Yeah.
look in on you, right? Because you begin to beacon. You begin to beacon something in the universe. And trust me when I say very few people beacon. It's a pretty dark planet. Yeah. So when something pushes out that kind of signal, like moths, right? They like they all gather to it and go, I know something about that you need to know. And it sort of dumps it in on you. I've said this before. Sometimes I feel more like an oracle than a teacher. When I'm in process, you're not getting Chris. That's my life name. You're not getting Chris, right? What Pierce is a process. Pierce is not a man. Pierce is a process. So you're getting whatever's attending at the moment. If I'm doing it right, if I'm not personally involved, if I'm not, caught up in my own nonsensical life at times, that sort of thing, then you get something better.
Yeah.
Which is what you all deserve. Yeah. But yeah, all right. It wasn't a cherubim. They have a different frequency. Not an archangel either, thank goodness. I'd be bald, probably wouldn't even be here. Yeah. Probably all the hair off, yeah. Okay. Well, how many times today did you practice alchemy?
I was going to say consciously or unconsciously.
Well, there is no such thing as unconscious alchemy.
Okay, so that
That's
blew
the
that
whole
way.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point to make, actually. Because there's a lot of things that do go on in an unconscious way, as I've described it, as like background processing after you've tasked yourself to do something.
Yeah, sure.
But it's interesting that you say that with alchemy, it isn't an unconscious thing, it is a conscious.
Yeah, and the reason why is because unlike pharmacology, for example, right? You go to the pharmacist and you ask for a specific compound. If it's a compounding pharmacist, they can actually go to the shelf and they can take the various things. They can throw them in a mortar and pestle, grind them all together, right? Make them into pills, hand it to you, compounded, just the way you asked for. Can't really do it these days, but that's how it used to work. But they're following a flow chart. Right? There's no guarantee that the chemist or the pharmacist was present during it. In fact, you could get the same compound from some machine that was programmed to do it as you do from a mindless chemist, mindless pharmacist doing the mixture themselves. Yeah, as long as the ingredients are okay, then you have a pill in the end. But it has zero vitality to it. It's just a chemical, you see. The difference between that and alchemy, and we're going to talk about something called spagyrics today because it's a precursor to alchemy. But the difference between that and chemistry is that the alchemist is present, or the spagiricist is present in the operation. They invest themselves consciously into the outcome. Now,
Right. Yeah.
let me put it another way. Okay. Presumably, you made yourself or each other breakfast, lunch, and dinner, given that there's a 7-hour difference, maybe not dinner yet, right?
Yeah.
But now, there is a chance right there for you to be a cook or an alchemist, depending on whether you're present in the moment or not. If you're just cracking eggs into a pan and you know, baking
Oh.
tofurkey, yeah, whatever, right? If you're just going through the mechanics of it, you're no better than a chemist. But do you realize that you're putting this into your body and into each other's bodies? Yeah. And you have an opportunity right there to, let's say, that you realize that yourself or the one that you're preparing this food for needs something. They need more compassion. They you know, they've had a rough day. They need love. They need whatever the case is. Can you hold that state in you while you prepare it?
Yeah.
Then you're no longer just a cook. You're an alchemist in the kitchen. And you see, you also have the opportunity to work with elements. Let's say that you detect that you are low on your water element. What kinds of foods are you going to put into that dish instead of just popping open the fridge or the pantry and looking and seeing, let's see, that's available, you know, that looks good. Do you realize how low that is, right? To go, that looks good without any sort of internal process of what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have rules about this, right? Certain things only go with breakfast, certain things only go with lunch, and certain things only go with dinner? No? Okay. Right.
Sort of.
I don't.
You would. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Some people do, some people don't, right? But
Yeah.
it's good to take a different approach to it when you're preparing your food. And instead of saying, well, you know, I can only eat eggs in the morning, right, because it's a breakfast food, or you know, toast or whatever the case is, to look at to process what it is that you need or what it is the other person needs, and then combine that, yeah, to a healing benefit for a person.
Yeah.
What are some examples of water foods? Let's say that you need water, you know, the water element in you. I mean, could you go for soup? Right? Sure. There's a bit to do with flavor and things like that with it. But yeah, juice nectars, for example, could be considered water. See
What
where I'm going
about
with this?
vegetables?
Depends on the
with
vegetable. A cucumber, very much cooling in water.
Yeah.
Yeah, cucumber. It also depends on where you get it, you see. If you're picking apples, that's more of an air type of thing, or peaches, right? Something that comes from the air part of the tree, the upper part, that has more of an airy aspect to it. If you're eating carrots, that's earth.
Yeah.
Now, certain things like, you know, I mean, roots are pretty easy to figure out that it's an earthy thing, isn't it? But you take a cucumber, and its nature is very much watery, isn't it? Yeah, it'll cool you down if you're running hot. Yeah, some cucumber water is very, very good if you have that kind of excess fire energy. What's fire? You don't have to be a vegetarian, right? You can still get fire with certain spices, can't you? But meats generally is meat. Yeah, oh yeah.
Chilies.
Yeah, meat generally, meat and fish are well, fish can be either way, but meats are often encourage that fire aspect of a person. You don't have to eat meat to get it though. You can certain types of spices. Yeah. What I want you to do as a bit of homework is to start using your own detection systems. Next time you prepare a meal, I mean, grains, what is grains? You know, what kind of element is that? Begin to put the various ingredients and things that you're preparing in your food, begin to put it into categories of the air, earth, water, or fire categories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And play around with it. Have fun with it. Begin to cast your faculties to it. Yeah. Get this sense. Hold it in your hand. Hold a cucumber in your hand and see what kind of registration it has on your body. Yeah. Does it cool you down just by having it in your aura, for example? Huh?
Yeah.
Grains, nuts, roots, legumes, very earthy things, aren't they? Generally speaking. Of course, everyone can find the outlier in there, be like, well, this is a legume, but it doesn't have a earthy feeling to it. Smell will tell you something about it too. Smell the foods, right? And begin to make mental registrations. If you figure out, for example, that a cucumber is to do with the water element, register that smell, break it open, register that smell, and tell yourself this has to do with water. Yeah. Take a handful of nuts and say, yeah, this has to do with earth, right? Or a carrot, or so on and so forth. You'll begin to pick up on the frequencies of things, and this trains your complex to be able to detect those things so that one day you can go out into the woods and begin to detect these different things that you come across, whether it be, mushrooms, whether it be berries that you find, a pine cone, whatever the case is, and train your complex to be able to say, this is air, this is earth, this is fire, this is water, and so on. All right?
Yeah.
It's a very good thing. Very natural thing to do. Now, what's the fifth element in that? Because, even the cross that we did with the air, earth, water, fire had the central aspect to it. What's the fifth element in this context of cooking? I'm going to teach you today that you've already had the opportunity to be an alchemist without ever having a beaker in your hand. It's okay to just have a set of pots and pans. But what's the fifth element?
You're speaking about wood, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
In the context.
Yeah. Trying to think from the point of view of food, what would be a wood type food?
Yeah. Okay. You're barking up the wrong tree, but yeah.
Okay. Oh no, we got to repeat them last week.
It's you. It's you. It's your process. Okay. That is the fifth element, is you. It's your process while you're doing it.
Of course it is, yeah.
Of course it is, right? This is the difference between being a cook, a machine that produces foods for other machines, and an alchemist in the kitchen. That's the difference, is the process you're in while you're doing it. You see, so at least now, from now on, you have 3 opportunities a day, presuming you eat 3 times a day. Some people graze, and then you have even more opportunities. I know. But yeah, right? You have many
you weren't looking at me so that people weren't looking at you, yeah.
All right. Okay, let me share something with you. You can search online. You know who Nostradamus was? Yeah, Nostradamus. You've heard of Nostradamus? Yeah. Well, he wasn't just a prophet. He also made ruby jelly. Sorry, let me get this right. Clairvoyant ruby jelly. Made with Bing cherries, sugar, and that's it. But he extolled the values of this clairvoyant ruby jelly and said, anybody who tries my clairvoyant ruby jelly will also be clairvoyant. And sure enough, people were, you see. But if you go down to the grocery store and you buy some cherry jam, made by Smuckers or something. You have Smuckers there? It's a jelly company. Yeah, okay, right. But anyway, some company, you're not likely to become clairvoyant from eating it. So what's the missing ingredient? You see, because it could be chemically the same as Nostradamus's ruby jelly, clairvoyant ruby jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The difference
What's
was
put into it? Yeah.
who made it
Yeah.
or what made it, you see. If you've got Nostradamus there making a pizza, it's probably going to be clairvoyant pizza. Right? Someone eats a slice and they get visions of the future. Most likely. Yeah, if he's doing it while in process, you see. Now, if you go and follow Nostradamus's recipe for clairvoyant ruby jelly, but you're not in the kind of process of clairvoyance, you're not going to make clairvoyant ruby jelly, no matter how much you follow the ingredients, right? There's only 2, easy peasy. But anyway, do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about you. You're the 5th element. Okay. Now, at some point in time, we will be doing, actually, even starting today, you're going to be doing some lab work. When you do the lab work, and all it's going to require of you is one of these. Yeah, a mason jar. Can you find one in your house or something like that? Just a mason jar. Okay. You can find something like that, can't you?
Yeah.
But that's the only tool. It's the only physical apparatus that you're going to need is one of these. All right. And some booze, some alcohol, yeah, and some herbs. I'll let you detect which herbs, but we'll get to this in a little while. But the reason why I'm bringing up the clairvoyant ruby jelly is because when you're doing what I recommend you do, don't forget you. All right. Do it with purpose. Do it while in process, and it's going to have amazing results. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pump it full of anything. Okay, so I talked about, let's go ahead and transition into that then. I talked about spagyrics. The word spagyric, Spageric, I think, comes from 2 Greek words. It was made by Paracelsus, who was a alchemist, roughly, and it means to separate and to join. Okay, to break apart and to put back together. And the whole idea behind spagyrics, which is a precursor to alchemical work, is that you take something, some sort of herb or plant, okay, of any edible kind, I should say, and you break it down into its salt, its mercury, and its sulfur components. You purify those, and then you put it all back together in a purified way. Right? That's what spagyrics is. It's the precursor to pharmacology, actually, to medicine. Where it's different, and I'll get into the process, those 3 processes that we talked about, but where it's different is that you basically have 3 types of medicine, okay? 3 types of healing when you're talking about ingesting things for a healing purpose. You've got allopathic medicine, which is symptomatic. Okay, so you go to the doctor, you say, it hurts when I do this, and they say, well, then don't do that. That's allopathic medicine, right? Don't do what hurts you, or here's a pill to make the pain go away, right? When you do this sort of thing, you see, that's allopathic medicine. It's directly combating symptoms. And for future doctors watching this, I do apologize in advance. I'm not trying to oversimplify the art. I'm just trying to make a point, okay? Homeopathic medicine is to encourage symptoms. So like if you have a bellyache, yeah, they'll find some sort of herb that will exacerbate a bellyache, right? Make your stomach hurt, like hot pepper or something like that. And they'll just take a tiny, 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 tiny little bit of it and have you take that to irritate your stomach so that your body then goes, right, I need to combat this. And the idea behind that is you take a little bit of something symptomatic instead of counter symptomatic and let your body do the work. Okay, then it begins to release the types of energies and chemicals that it needs to combat this little tiny sample that they give you. which then helps to alleviate the problem going on. Spagyrics is holistic. When I say holistic, what you're doing is you are working with the pentagram, working with the pentagrammic system in the body, and adding a little bit here, subtracting a little bit here, augmenting, modifying, okay, all in a very balanced way. It's neither combating nor enhancing. It's kind of doing all 5 aspects all at the same time. A lot of Chinese medicine is more of a holistic sort of thing, right? They don't just go, here's this. They say, well, you know, if I give you this, it's going to increase the fire aspect, but that's also going to decrease the air. So you have to take a little bit of this along with it, which is going to decrease the wood aspect. And so you have to take it at this particular time of day, and so on and so forth. They try and keep everything balanced. By balancing the systems, then you're adding energy to all 5 aspects at the same time. Okay, so that's the fundamental idea behind spagyrics. It's a bit different than allopathic or homeopathic. With me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated than that, because the reason why I've asked you to begin to detect or begin to, I say, your foot's moving the camera. Is that what it is?
No. It's
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's my foot.
It's like anyway.
But I can see just half a sound. So
Yeah, it's all right. So in alchemical practice, in spagyrics, timing is incredibly important, because the underlying notion is that every herb, every plant, every medicine, every food that you can take into you is influenced by one or more planets. Usually one predominates, especially when you're talking about plants. Okay, so for example, oregano is Martian. Spearmint also, right? These types of things. It's influenced by Mars. It's a two-way street. You see an oregano plant that's growing not only receives energy from Mars and processes it and does what it does with it, but it also transmits Martian energy out into the planet, this planet. Okay, so it's a two-way street. It breathes in and it breathes out. I'm not going to go into how you know it's Martian, because I want you to actually train yourself to be able to do this, to be able to pick up a plant and go, ah, this is a Jupiter influence. Okay, or this is a Saturnian influence. You'll get there eventually. You'll be able to hold it in your hand and do this with it. Smell it, for example. This is why I said smell your foods. You know, it starts with the air, earth, water, fire, but eventually you can go to the 7 influences, which conveniently enough have to do with the days of the week. All right, so let me put it this way. If you determine, we'll just stick with Mars. If you determine that you want more of a Martian influence, right, that your complex needs more of that Martian influence, and then you're going to go for oregano, because I told you already, but you can detect it. All right, you're going to go for oregano, and you're going to focus on Tuesday when you plant it and when you harvest it, because Tuesday is controlled by Mars. You see, we have this very convenient map here where Sunday is controlled by the sun. Moon day, moon, right? Monday is the moon. Tuesday, TIW, the god TIW was Mars. Wednesday by Mercury. Thursday, as in Thor, by Jupiter. Friday for Venus, and Saturn day for Saturday. All right, so you've got these kind of general aspects, but it's not so easy, I'm sorry to say. That's just the beginning of it, okay? It also has to do with the time of day. So can you see the numbers that I've got here? Are you able to see those? Okay, I'll go through them briefly. It's basically 3 hour and 25-minute intervals. And I'll explain how that alters throughout the year here in a little bit. But from 0 to 100 hours, to 0325 on Sunday is ruled by Martian influence, and I will send a picture of this. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. On Monday, it's Mercury. Tuesday is Jupiter. Wednesday, Venus. Thursday, Saturn. Friday, Sun. And Saturday, Moon. Okay. And every 3 hours, 3 hours and 25 minutes roughly, it advances. And so on Sunday, from 3:26 a.m. to 6:51 a.m., it's Sun. And the reason why it's that time is because it's generally within the time that the sun rises. So when the sun rises on Sunday between 3:26 a.m. and 6:51 a.m., that's the literal time when it starts. Okay, but these are kind of generalisms.
Yeah.
You understand? So, like for example, sun rose today at 5:24 a.m. I would add 3 hours and 25 minutes to that to come up with the exact timings. But if you are working with a sun kind of plant or a Martian plant, you got to get up pretty early in the morning, don't you? If you want to harvest it on a Sunday, you've got to do it between the hours of midnight, 0000 hours, and 3:25 a.m. All right, because you're in process, because you respect the timing of the planet, because that's when Mars is trickling down on you. Now, you all are 7 or more hours ahead of me. So doesn't that beg the question, whose time do you follow? Do you follow my time? Right? Do you follow my time or do you follow your time? What do you suppose? Or Greenwich Mean Time? Yeah, your time. Yeah. Which tells you that all of the planetary signals are raining down on the planet all the time. You see, but just in different parts because it spins. Right? So you've got all of these frequencies coming into the planet, and the planet is just rotating. Like if you're in the shower, yeah, if you know how to take a shower to clean your aura, you've done this, I suppose, been taught this?
Yeah.
Tell me you've been taught this.
Well, we actually had a shower clean, not a shower cleaner, an aura cleaner at one of these centres. And these 3 copper rings, one that cleaned quite close, and then the furthest one was 3 feet out, and there was one in between. I can't think what, and he had his hose pipes and taps, so that we could decide which layer or part of the aura to turn the tap on. This was in the garden at the back, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can do it at home, okay? You get under the shower, clean your physical body, okay? Then you move just outside so that it's cleaning the middle layer of the aura, okay? You do kind of a rotation so that it cleans out the blood layer of the aura. First is etheric, right? Second is blood layer. Third is nerve layer. And if you have a small shower, like we do in our bathroom, you can leave the water running, get out so that it's, just out of arm's reach for you. And you can spin there, clean off that part of your aura. All right, then turn the water off, you see. You can do this at home, but water's very good. It cools and drops the electrics out. If you really want to get complicated, then install a salt block. Well, I haven't done this, so there's no need to do it. But install salt in a salt block in your tap, so that it's cleaning with salt water. You see, and bordering on holy water at that point. But anyway, it's not necessary. You could do it. It's not necessary. But that's the point, isn't it? That the planet is spinning under these different rays, constantly cleansing and washing it. Yeah. And it's got little plants on there that are making a return back to it, that are processing that energy, pulling it in, refining it, sending it back out. Okay. So these timings are very important. Now, are you ready for the part that dropped in this morning? Okay. You can see that there's a chart here. And one thing that I would like you to try to do is, I don't often say this, but try to memorize this chart. so that at any point in time of day, you'll understand what influence you're under. Okay, what influence is washing over the planet. There's another one that's twice as big as this one that has to do with like minutes and so on and so forth. You don't need to get that complex with it. But fortunately, it always follows the same order. It goes from Mars to Sun to Venus to Mercury to Moon to Saturn to Jupiter, and then the same order. It's just it starts in a different one each day. Okay, you see?
Yeah.
You'll see it. You'll understand it when you get the picture of it. But
yeah.
Try to take the time to memorize it. Be able to look at your watch or the clock, and know what influence is washing over the planet in your area at that point in time. Okay, it's going to help with your detection skills. It's going to help you. Moreover, it'll help your astral body from the standpoint of being able to get on the signal of what an astral body is composed of, because it's got these 7 elements in it. All right, now, here's the strange thing. We have this ordering here: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so on, that each follow the planets. But that's not necessarily the way the planets are arranged in our solar system. There's a hidden message in this, and especially in this. All right, this ordering here throughout the day, going from Mars to Sun. I mean, wherever you start, right? This is Mercury on Monday, starts at Mercury, and so on. Tuesday starts at Jupiter. All right. This is going to blow your mind like it did me today. All right. This just came in this morning, so fresh food for you, fresh food for thought. You draw the Enneagram out with Monday, Tuesday. Well, first of all, Sunday. Sunday has to do with the triangle in the middle. All right. Sunday resonates through the whole week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all around the not yet completed Enneagram. Now, let's take this ordering here. Start at Mars. Let's see. I'm going to go with blue here. So start at Mars, which is here. All right. And go to Sun, Sunday, which makes that line here. All right. Then we go from Sun over to Venus. Sunday goes to Venus. All right. Now, Venus goes to Mercury. Mercury goes to Moon. Oops, I broke the chalk. Mercury goes to Moon. All right. Moon goes to Saturn. Saturn goes to Jupiter. And then Jupiter circles back around to Mars. Now, can you see this well enough?
Yeah.
Do you see what's being drawn in here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's overlay the Enneagram numbers on top of it, because it obviously doesn't match the Enneagram. But if you go 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7, 1, back to 1, what you end up with, do you remember the lesson of the complete Enneagram? You end up with the complete Enneagram.
Yeah.
Now you end up with the complete Enneagram.
Yeah.
Just like that lesson from yeah, right? Did you get the chills?
Yeah.
Just like that lesson from 3 months ago or whatever it was about rotating the Enneagram. Mark, you did a brilliant piece on that, right?
Yeah.
With graphics and everything. Same symbol emerges because of this order. Yeah, that's what dropped in today.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's things like this that happen that lets you know you're on the right path or the right track, because you begin to get this same information coming from completely different areas, right? It's natural law, ladies and gentlemen, not just kind of, some easy way to understand the universe. And it also says that whoever put this together understood that. understood the natural laws behind it. Not only did they understand the Enneagram, but they knew the complete Enneagram, because those lines trace it out. Those lines finish the story. So now we're deeply, deeply in the realms of esoteric knowledge. And I'm bringing this up because you need to understand that when you get into alchemy, there's nothing obvious. All right. It's all hidden. It's all encoded. You have to have the kind of faculties that can reach to these levels, these depths, and see what it is that they're really saying. Yeah. All right. Otherwise, you'll end up taking spoonfuls of mercury and killing yourself, you see. You've got to be able to go beyond. And that's the whole point of this. And it's so absolutely rewarding when you get to something like that. Yeah. It's so confirming, you see. And again, it goes back to my point in the beginning that it's the same thing translating through a person, you see? Same way, same essence, whether it be Taoism, alchemy, whatever the case is. Same signal processed by a person. Yeah, and they put this order together. Not even sure who it was in history that came to that, but clearly they knew something, didn't they? Yeah, because it fits. One rule to live by: if it doesn't fit the natural laws, you don't try and jam it in. Re-look at the foundations that you're coming from, because the laws are going to be the same. I mean, we did this, didn't we, months ago with the I Ching, for example. Came up with the same Enneagram inner symbol type of thing going on. And we did it with Kabbalah, alchemy now. You see, it's the same thing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that the Sephiric entity dropped in this morning as I was winding up for today. Didn't know exactly, how I was going to astound you and wow you today, but thank goodness it happened. All right.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Huh?
Incredible.
Good stuff, isn't it? Yeah. It blows me away. All right. I have a whole lot of occult and esoteric things going on. So when something blows me away, yeah, it's kind of big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, huh?
Yeah, it's a significant thing.
It is a significant.
Yeah, not said just in the normal casual way that significance is used in the world, but it's a significant thing when something like that drops in.
Yeah.
And also drops in response to you having that thought and sending these signal out. Okay, what am I going to have from today?
Yeah.
And it delivers out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much more in this. I can feel it. Like I am tingling with anticipation of what else is going to come out of this.
Yeah.
Talk about getting right to the heart of the matter with things. Okay, so practical. All right, we use these coded terms, don't we, of salt and mercury and sulfur. When you're discussing a plant, okay, human's a different matter. In the human, the salt is the body, the mercury is the spirit, and the sulfur is the soul. When you're dealing with the plant life, its salt is also its body. Okay, these are just coded terms. All right, the salt is the body. Ethanol is mercury. Now, what do I mean by ethanol? When you take a grape and you let it rot because it's got its own, what's it called? Yeast, right? That white film on the outside of a grape is yeast. When you let it rot and ferment, it creates alcohol. It creates ethanol. All right. That would be sort of the spirit, or equivalent to the spirit. One thing you'll notice too is that ethanol is ethanol is ethanol. It doesn't matter if it comes from corn or a grape or cherries or fruit juice or whatever the case is. It's always going to be the same thing. It should tell you something about your spirit. The spirit that inhabits the human Hannah, mine's the same as yours. Mark, mine's the same as yours. Enzi, same. All right. The spirit is the same. Same thing in all of us. The soul, or the now, why did I lose it?
You're saying that the spirit's the same.
Sulfur. Right.
Yeah.
Sulfur is the essential oils in something. And this is where it's different. You see, because you can't extract the same essential oils from mint as you can from oregano. All right. It's got its own unique character. That's what carries that planetary signal itself. All right. So the essential oil that is produced in the glands of oregano, for example, is oregano's process with Mercury. I'm sorry, with Mars. All right. Oregano's process with Mars. It has a different one than mint, which also processes Mars, by the way. Just like Mark or Enzi or Hannah or Sam, the way that I process planetary signals is going to be different, right? We're going to smell different, but it's going to be the same. That's my soul. Do you understand? That's your soul. Yeah. Your soul is going to make an essential oil, if you follow the analogy, out of Mars that has a different nature, but is still Martian, yeah, than mine. Okay. This is our uniqueness, and that's also the uniqueness in the plant. Okay. Now, each one. One thing I don't want you to do is just go look up what plants go with what. All right. Let's get there organically, please. I gave away mint and oregano. Okay, so you can have those. But do you agree? Let's get there organically, because it is within your powers to just be able to go, yeah, this goes to Jupiter. I get it, right? It's Jupiter. Feel it. Trust me, by the end of these 16 weeks, you'll be able to do that with anything. Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. So anyway, here's what we need to do. We're going to start by making a tincture. Now, don't forget the fifth element, which is you. Don't forget the fifth element when you do this, but get yourself a mason jar, all right? And get the strongest, clearest alcohol you can find. I actually distill my own here. You don't have to go to those links, all right? Because I promised you we're only going to use a jar, but go get, they have this like 98 proof kind of grain alcohol or whatever. It's fine, all right? Vodka can be a little weak, but just go to the liquor store, get the strongest clear alcohol you can find. All right. If all you have is vodka, okay, not a problem. That's fine. But usually they have certain, like, I don't know, like, I don't know the brands. Okay, you'll find it. Just go in. the person at the liquor store is going to think like you're a raging alcoholic, right? Because you're like, I need the strongest clear booze. Yeah, Everclear, I think is one of them here. I don't know if y'all have that, but in any event, okay, it's got to be clear though. All right.
Yeah.
So no whiskey, no brandy, those types of things. But if you can't find anything stronger than vodka, vodka's fine. All right.
Yeah.
And then take any herb that appeals to you. Now, what I mean is, don't go research on the internet. Don't go find a planetary herb, right? Because you think you should be doing Saturn or Jupiter or whatever. Find one that appeals to you. With it, make sure that it's crushed up, very fine, very dry. Okay. Don't worry about the timings yet. We'll get to those eventually. But fill about a quarter of the jar with crushed up herb, dried out, crushed up herb. And the rest of it with your liquor. Okay, shake it up, and then put it in a dark, warm place. So if you have a clear jar like this, just put a bag around it, a paper bag or something like that, and go set it by the heater. Okay, by the vent or somewhere that's going to be warm. If you've got sun coming in a window, that's fine too. You know, as long as your house isn't getting like freezing cold at night, you should be okay. Okay, but keep it room temperature, keep it warm, and keep it dark. Don't let the sun into it. Take it out, shake it up a couple times a day. Twice is fine if you like, and just let it do its thing for 2 weeks. Okay, just 2 weeks. You can go longer. It's not going to hurt it. But what you're going to notice is that it goes through a phase where it becomes kind of black or really dark green. All right. The alcohol is going to begin to extract the essence of the plant. Okay. Which includes the essential oils, which is the sulfur aspect. You're providing ethanol in the form of alcohol because it's the same for anything, right? I mean, if you want to go through the process, I'll teach you how to do it. If you want to actually, you know, make wine and then distill that wine so that you get the really high proof, like 98% alcohol out of wine, we can do that too, but it's fine. It's the same. All right. For every ethanol, it's ethanol. Doesn't matter. Just like your spirits, just like mine. Yeah. Let it sit for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, then what we'll do, and I'm just going to give you a prelude to what we're going to do with this stuff, okay? You're going to take the plant material out, which is the salt of it, yeah, the body that's now been decimated, okay? It's got all of its essence drawn out of it. You're going to strain any kind of crud that formed in the alcohol base. All right, so that what you get is you get these minerals and you get the essential oils and so on and so forth that are like a tea that the plant has made, a tea made of alcohol. It's going to be colored. That is actually a tincture. That's where you get the word tincture. It's like tint. Okay, it's tinted. It's tinctured. Okay. That will be what's called a tincture in spagyrics. And you can drink a little bit of it. It's perfectly safe. All right. As long as you start with a plant that's edible. Please don't go out and pick plants that are poisonous to you. All right. Use something safe, an herb that you would cook with. Okay, please. Yeah. That's your tincture. Now, don't throw away the plant stock material. The reason why is because we're going to do something with it. You will then burn it under heat until it becomes white. All right. What you're doing is you are, calcination is what it's called in alchemy, but you're going to burn it until the ash becomes completely white. You're going to take that ash, pour it into water, strain it out through like a coffee filter or cheesecloth or something that will get all of the actual, just the dead matter out of it. What remains in there is certain salts, certain minerals, certain compounds that were in the plant that you can't see. All right. So you take half of that tincture and then you can let that evaporate all the alcohol out, let it evaporate all the water out, add that salt back into it, and then it becomes kind of like these beautiful little crystals in there that have to do, this is the essence of what that plant was. Very, very concentrated. You can take little bits of that and it will have a profound effect on your body, on the health. Yeah, you're getting that planet's like subtle essence and taking little bits and pieces of that. This is why I say go with your instinct. Yeah, each of you get a jar, please. Don't share a family jar. Now, treat your process as sacred. Remember, you're the fifth element in it. Don't let other people muck about with it. Okay? Don't let anyone else handle it. This is your sacred object for the next few weeks. All right? Nurture it like you would a baby. Nurture it like you would a child. Treat it with the kind of respect and the kind of contemplative awareness that is deserving of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Please. Otherwise, you're just making a chemical. Doesn't matter. All right? You can do things. You can meditate with it. You can set it in your lap. If you find that it's cold, warm it up with your hands. Meditate with it. Sit down with it. Warm it up. Body heat is fine. Okay? but please be present in the process, because that defines what the outcome is actually going to be with it. Otherwise, it's just tea or a chemical or anything else that you might make. All right, but for right now, we just let it soak. We just let the alcohol, the spirit, pull out the kind of essential elements of it. And now you understand why it's called spagyrics, because you separate things out of it, right? Spag, the SPA part of spagyrics, it means to separate. We purify it. We'll get into that. We purify it later, and then we gyric it. We combine it all back together into something that's like a crystal, an essence. And now I'd like you to consider that this is also what you're doing with this work. This is what you've been doing for a long time with this work. You may not have realized it. But you take things apart. Yeah, you break open things like your personality. You separate it out into its various constituent parts based on, like you say, that belongs to the moving center, that belongs to the thinking center, belongs to the emotional center, right? You've had to do this already. And then you combine it, you kind of boil it down to what its essentialness is, using your own spirit inside you. And then you recombine it into something else, which is, of course, your astral body. That's how you make one. So as above, so below. All right. Now you're just taking something that physically represents it and also has a useful benefit, but physically represents the spiritual process that you're going through and doing it on the physical plane. Yeah, you're creating a tuning fork to your own personal development by doing this. Get it?
Yep.
All right.
Question.
Yeah.
And it might sound daft, but I think from a safety aspect of people that might see this in the future, that it's important to use alcohol that you buy at a
Right. Potable.
a liquor store, as you say, as opposed to going to getting industrial grade IPA, and because of the harmful effects that can have. It has to be something that you would normally drink.
Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely. And just to add to that, because I did actually mention that you can ferment your own grapes, make wine, and then use that to make the alcohol from it. In that process, you do have to be careful, because the first thing that comes off is methanol. Methanol will make you go blind if you drink methanol. So don't, so if you're doing the whole process.
This is exactly the kind of caution that I wanted to clarify. Yeah,
definitely. And this is why I'm saying just go to the liquor store and get the strongest clear alcohol you can, because it's already been demethanolized. All right. So, but yeah, in the actual process, you have to be aware of the boiling points of things like methanol. Let the methanol go. Okay, it's toxic to you. After that comes ethanol at a slightly higher boiling point, and it's like the first fourth of it is just waste. Okay, just like what we do in our expendable lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even so. But yeah, good point. Okay, now along those lines, if you do it with a bottle of wine, if you distill a bottle of wine just to get the alcohol out, it's not as dangerous. You still probably want to throw away the first part of it, but if you are, it's no different than drinking the bottle of wine, you see. All right. It's going to have some methanol. Every bottle of wine has a little bit in it. If you want to be real precise about it, throw away the first fourth that comes out of that too. And then you're left with pure ethanol. But in any event, less danger if it's something that has been professionally made and made to be consumed. Okay, so good. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
You said to use the dried herb.
Yeah.
So do we dry the herb ourselves, like we
You don't have to. If you order it from somewhere, make sure it's organic. All right, so you don't want like the pesticides and whatnot that are in it. Make sure that it's organic, and usually it'll come as a dried herb already if you order it. If you go to the store and buy it, realize you're gonna have to buy quite a bit because once the water is evaporated from it, if it's fresh. And by the way, if you need to dry it yourself, hang it by its stalks, tie a string around it, hang it upside down, and just let it dry out on its own. Okay, if you do it that way, hang it upside down, it's fine. But just make sure that once you've ground it up, you've got enough to fill about a quarter of the jar. Okay, yeah. So
You think about coriander or something?
No, I was just thinking that if we went to the shop and bought the actual herb in like a plant, and then we have to chop it up. But what you're saying is that you can actually buy the dried herb. You can get dried herbs in the supermarket here in a jar. So
But it's going to, the challenge will be to find organic.
Yeah.
Sounds like time to Google.
Yeah.
yeah, Amazon has it. You can buy.
Okay.
You can buy dried herbs. They're much cheaper anyway than the store. Now, the unfortunate side is that there's almost zero guarantee that it's going to have been planted and harvested according to this chart. All right. If you really get into this and want to become passionate about it, then you get a bunch of planters and you start growing your own and doing it the right way. But this will still have a lot of impact. Even if it's not done according to the chart up there, it's still going to have a lot of impact if you're there when you do it. I mean, you're there when you do it. All right. We won't now, because you don't have you have the faculties, but you don't have the experience yet to know which plants correspond to which planet. We're not going to worry about the timings yet. All right. We'll get to that at some point in time. You'll end up doing this experiment again at some future date, but I want you to have some experience with it. Yeah. Now, a tincture versus an elixir. A tincture, you're going to take about half of that. You're going to make that into an elixir, which is where you let everything evaporate, boil down to just those beautiful crystals that it makes. Really colorful too sometimes. That's an elixir. Elixir actually comes from the word fire, right? You've dehydrated the whole thing, the whole process. But the tincture is the fluid. And don't get drunk, of course. Just a little teaspoon will do you.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah, a teaspoon will do you. We'll get to that. Don't do anything with it other than treat it with the utmost respect for the next couple of weeks. Okay. All right. Don't have to go out and buy hundreds of dollars worth of lab equipment or anything like that. It's about what's going on in you as you do it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. There you go. That's what I wanted to put out today.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
You got anything you want to throw in?
No. The only thing I'd say, I don't know if it fits or not, but today we watched the coronation of King Charles.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
What's that got to do with the work that we're doing?
I just thought because he was being made into a king where he's anointed.
Yes.
And
right.
He pledges his life to a life of service. It was just really interesting to watch and to actually see if there was a transformation.
Which there was.
Yeah.
Because as each person gave him that particular scepter or the orb or the ring or this or that, you could see there was something added in. Some more than others. Yeah. But there was electrically things being
built,
passed over.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to see that it's not been lost.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that it's not been lost, right?
Yeah.
May we all be kings and queens soon. In our own right, yeah. Not usurp the throne. I don't mean that, but don't think I'd want the job anyway.
No.
Yeah. Thank you all. Okay. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
See you
Yeah.
soon. Enjoy. Get busy on that, and you've got time. I mean, you don't have to rush out tonight and do it. Okay. You've got there's some leeway. Tomorrow's fine. Next day. All right. Okay. Bye. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
All right.